First Alert Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt. It is time for our winter season outlook from the First Alert weather team. Last season we had the Fultondale tornado, we had some winter weather, but when we look at the overall pattern of the winter season, we expected temperatures to be a bit above average, precipitation a bit below average. One of the things we look through a lot of data, the weather team here, we look at a lot of the what we call teleconnections and the patterns around the globe and how that can impact what happens downstream. One thing we pay close attention to is what's happening way out over the Pacific, especially around the equatorial Pacific. The water temperatures can have a big influence on impacting the circulation across North America, and it can impact our seasons. And you've probably heard us talk about El Niños and La Niña before. That is a big player in the weather patterns across the country, and we are actually going back into what is a La Niña cycle where we have cooler than average sea surface temperatures along the equatorial Pacific. How does that impact our weather? It's kind of like what we saw last winter season. It can really cause below average precipitation, and a lot of times in the weather, one thing I've observed quite a bit is we often see the weather, it kind of comes in cycles. We're coming off a very wet, rainy summer season, very wet early fall season. Now we may be trending a bit drier here as we go into the winter season. It's going to be interesting to watch how this plays out, but that's looking at some of the averages there and how we kind of compare to normal, but we're trending near or below average with respect to precipitation. That possibility for this winter season, and also the possibility of above average temperatures. I want to bring in First Alert meteorologist Jill Gilardi. And Jill, you know, we've all been talking about this winter forecast coming up, and the one important thing to remember is even though we talk about a general above average temperature pattern, there are some extremes in the mix.
Oh yeah, I mean that's over 3 months. It's an average of all those temperatures. So, you know, we have those cold blasts. We had the cold blast in February, and many of you probably remember that. It was pretty rough. It was pretty cold for the south, that's for sure. And so, as Wes was talking about, our precipitation and our temperatures probably on average warmer than normal, and will be normal or slightly below normal precipitation. But I know everyone wants to know about what about snow, and will we have to deal with severe weather? So we did some research, and we found that during La Nina winters that there was some snow. It happens, but as we know in Alabama, snow can be so random. You can have a couple counties get a little bit of snow one winter and nobody else sees anything, and that is how random it typically is. But there are areas that see a greater chance of seeing the white flakes, and we do think that there's a 70% chance you will see some snow. We don't know how much, but that would be from Marion County up through Coleman, Blount County, getting to the higher terrain, north and east, Etowah County, Cherokee County. As you go farther south, of course, that chance is going to decrease, and so we're looking at Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, about a 50% chance, you know, that we'll see a little bit of snow. And then the farther south you go, that threat really in the chance drops off significantly. And the other thing we're concerned about, which I've seen and we've all agreed upon, that we can see severe weather. Of course, we know we have that secondary season, late fall into the winter, and we definitely noticed that during La Nina winters there were severe weather, either outbreaks or a random tornado. So we feel pretty confident, Wes, that we could easily see at least one severe weather threat.
Yeah, and the thing about around here, Jill, and we've talked about this, severe weather can happen any time of the year if the conditions are favorable. Now, what makes where we live one of the most unique places in the entire world is the fact that we have two primary severe weather seasons. We actually have an active weather season coming up here late November into December. We need to be weather alert. Now's a good time as any to make sure you have multiple ways to get those alerts. You go through your severe weather safety plan, and then as we go into the winter season, we really have to watch it, when we start to warm up. And when you're dealing with a La Nina pattern like this, where you're talking above average temperatures, many times that kind of places you in a situation where it can be a bit more unstable, and you can often see some active weather. So we do need to watch that as we go through the winter. But that's what we're thinking as far as the outlook goes. We do see a pattern change happening. We were certainly dealing with one of the wetter summers and early falls that we've had in quite some time. And what even makes that very interesting is the fact we didn't have a landfalling or major hurricanes to make their way across the area. It was mostly just air mass storms and systems that impacted the area, land base that moved across the region. We're going to talk a lot more about the long-range forecast for this week. We've got a system moving in on Veterans Day that will bring some wet weather. Be sure to check in with us, and also always check in right here on our streaming channels. Each week we post the Beyond the 7-Day forecast, so you can get those outlooks, the kickoff weather forecast, and also check out our fall colors forecast. More to come right here. We appreciate you downloading our app